the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
We have a problem here. It's a problem that affects 2.1 million people, and I don't really care that a lot of those people are separated by the Ohio River. The destinies of these of Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, Southern Ohio, are linked, and anybody who denies that is not tuned into reality. The notion that Northern Kentucky can do well without a successful and progressive Cincinnati is a farce. The notion that Cincinnati can be what it ought to be without a booming Northern Kentucky is a delusion.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Anyone who has watched this program over the last 18 years knows that one of my favorite topics is regionalism and regional cooperation. Do you know how many times I've asked a public official a question, hoping that someone would take a stand as clear and clean as the Kentucky auditor, Adam Edelin, made last week? Well, I'll tell you, it's been 18 years. The prompt was an audit of the Kenton County Airport Board after a series of embarrassing revelations about wasteful spending and unproductive infighting. But if Edelin's recommendations are acted on, this could become a model for a new type of productive regional thinking. The auditor concluded that it is fundamentally improper that a regional asset like the airport, with its 16,000 direct and indirect jobs, its annual spending of $2.7 billion, $92 million in tax dollars generated, and a 7,000-acre site that lies wholly within Boone County, has been run as an appendage, that's his term, of the Kenton County Judge Executive's office. The auditor proposes a radically different structure for the board. The proposal is for 11 equal voting members appointed by a wide array of officials representing a variety of regional interests and perspectives. Kentucky would retain a majority of the board seats, 8 out of 11. 3 would be appointed by the Kenton County Judge Executive, 2 by the Boone County Judge Executive, 1 by the Campbell County Judge Executive, and 2 by the Governor of Kentucky. Ohio would get 3 voting members, 1 appointed by the Ohio Governor, 1 by the Mayor of Cincinnati with the approval of Council, and 1 appointed by the Hamilton County Commission. One of the interesting aspects of this process is that the person who will become the Kenton County Judge Executive in January, and theoretically has the most political power to lose from these proposals, supports the changes. I am joined this morning by Kris Knockelmann, who defeated the incumbent Judge Executive, Steve Arlinghouse, in the spring Republican primary. He has no Democratic opponent in November and will be sworn in as the Judge Executive in January. Mr. Knockelmann is a lifelong resident of Kenton County and is the operator of an 85-year-old family business, Schneller Plumbing, Heating, and Air. He currently serves on the Kenton County Commission. Welcome to Newsmakers, Kris.
Thank you. Good morning.
How much lead did you have about what the auditor was going to say? Have you been talking to the auditor all along? Were you prepped as his research was going along? How much of a surprise was this when you first heard what the final proposal was going to be?
No, I did not have any kind of inkling of it prior to, other than about a week ahead. So about a week ahead, I received a call and was asked to sit down and discuss some of the findings and suggestions that he had. Prior to that, I had never spoken to the man. I've obviously seen his work. Unfortunately, he's been in Northern Kentucky a little bit this past year or two, and so I was able to.
You made that joke
yeah.
at the press conference,
yeah,
actually,
right.
that you were hoping this is the last time you see the auditor.
Indeed.
Not because of him, but because of why it gets him here.
Right.
How much do the proposals that he's laid out, which are very concrete and specific, and there's a lot more than just the structure of the board, but that's what we're focused on here. How much do those square with the policies that you promoted during the primary campaign?
Very much in line. I think the one point that has been missed a little bit by what he had brought up was the fact that we want to have an actual validation of any board appointment by the fiscal courts. It's been very unique that the judge executive has been able to unilaterally appoint all the voting members that he or she has, as well as the non-voting, which is a problem in and of itself. But secondarily, I've always supported reaching across both the county lines to our east and west, as well as to the north. I've just felt that it's going to make the board a lot stronger for its planning for the future.
Is this the right mix? He's proposed 8 Kentucky seats, 3 Ohio seats, 3 from Kenton County, 2 from Boone County, 1 from Campbell, 2 by the governor, but 3 and 2 from the 2 main counties involved. How do you feel about that mix?
Well, I am not 100% supportive of exactly the model that he suggested, but I think whether we have 1, 2, or 3 actual voting members from Ohio, I think we'll just have to work through that. It's obviously something that the legislature is going to have to decide. Nothing's going to happen unless we have the vote of Frankfurt, both houses, to support this. So it's not necessarily going to be an easy change no matter what we do, but I've fully supported whether or not be somewhere between 1 and 3 votes for Ohio residents, as well as then the Boone and Campbell. We need to split that up and make sure that we have their involvement.
Just to remind people, why did Kenton County end up controlling the regional airport that was in Boone County?
Well, if you think about it, without going through the specifics moment by moment, but back in the 40s, really Boone County was was more cow pasture. It wasn't the
more cows than people.
Right. It wasn't the booming economy that it is today. So
right.
When the desire of the federal government to help with the war effort was to give us a landing strip, if you will, an airport in northern Kentucky, Kenton County was able. Boone County passed. They didn't have the structure. They didn't have the financial wherewithal to make it happen. And Judge Werman, who is previous judge executive, made the wise choice and said, I'm going to support Kenton County acquiring the property in Boone County. So it was a very wise decision, and if you think about it, it was probably more so to benefit the entire area at that time, even from his perspective, as opposed to thinking about Kenton County alone. And I think that's an important factor. If he were strictly worried about